see you, Alex. You a fucking fool for this shit. Appreciate that one. S. I think it's time to put them in their place. I'ma have to set them straight. You don't know me. You don't know where I'm from or what I had to do to get this plate. Hey, let me paint a picture. Everybody dissing, acting like it wasn't cool to listen. Now look at me. I say now look at me.
Despite me coming in better, which is a personal win, obviously that's not what I'm really here for. In all honesty, I'm here for the actual win or the actual point. Some things for me to take away, I think, and understand. The next show is in a week. I fly out to Miami in the morning, so more exciting times. I can't complain.
Remember that? That was a good start to a series. We stopped using it at some point. I'm not sure when or why. Maybe Gigi thought people would be bored of it. This is going to be the wrap-up, I think, to the One Chance series. I'm going to go through some key points of the prep and talk about what happened, my feelings towards them, which is obviously what I've not done yet. And then I think we'll end with probably my favourite moment of the prep. I'm going to start just with the first kind of episode where we announced what the plan was. Back in 7R gym in lockdown.
It's in just under 12 weeks. I think we're at 11.9 weeks out, if you want. Obviously, I'm very excited. As I've told you already, my expectations for it. I don't know what they're going to be. It's a case of dipping my toe in and seeing where we land. But it's the biggest show that I could possibly enter. I believe that much. So very, very excited. I'm very excited to get an iconic picture with the NY Pro.
Seems like excitement was the main feeling at that point. That soon dissipated. We'll get more into that later. Okay, so back in February, I announced I was 12 weeks out of New York Pro, and as you heard there, my expectations were just to dip my toe in. We'll talk a little bit more about what my expectations did to me, I think, over the course of this prep as we go through it, but back then I think I was excited. I was very excited. And there was a clip from me, I think 2 years ago, after I won my pro card, saying if I got top 10 at my first pro show, I'd be happy. So that's interesting as well. Maybe something else we'll talk about when we get back to New York Pro. But that was the start. That was the start of prep. I think if we fast forward by 4 weeks, we get to this quite comical moment.
Prep started now for me, I believe, 4 weeks ago.
I don't actually believe I've made any progress.
No.
So 4 weeks into prep, no progress. I don't know if anyone remembers the reason why. The reason is because I essentially discovered that I've been on fake gear for 4 weeks. So my testosterone and primo was bunk. And after this video, I did my test. I got my bloods tested. And the results came back, and I think my testosterone was at 15 nanomolar, which is halfway up the natural range. So I was about as natty as someone going to do UK DFBA prep. That was tricky. That was bittersweet because I remember sat there thinking, well, this is a big problem, but at least I've recognised it now, and now we can move forward. So from that point on, things started to ramp up. That was March the 5th. And then obviously the next point I'm going to take you to is when we went up to see Callum. Okay, so at this point, I'm watching a clip from 5 weeks out when I went up to stay with Callum. Obviously Gigi came. We did some pretty sick videos actually. And I was 5 weeks out at this point, and I was 2 weeks out from going to Dubai, or 3 weeks out from going to Dubai. And this was when I started to think we're onto something. Because I remember going into this weekend, I kind of felt a bit behind. Didn't feel like I was quite where I needed to be. And then, as you'll see more clearly from what I'm watching, like the posing in the gym, posing in Cal's like posing room / wardrobe at his house, I started to think like, I think we're onto something here. My quads were looking feathered, felt quite big. I felt very classic actually, which was funny enough. But I felt like condition was coming in. It was where it needed to be, and that gave me a boost really. I think for the rest of the next sort of couple of weeks before I went to Dubai. So that felt like quite an important moment. It was a nice like mental break from me. It broke up the monotony of prep. I remember feeling very much going into that weekend that I was. This obviously is prep, but I was living on my own, getting up, doing the same thing day in, day out, and I just felt a bit trapped. Lockdown was still going on, so there wasn't really an ability to change anything up. I had to get up, do cardio in my spare bedroom on my recumbent bike. I think normally in prep I'd like go home and break it up, like come stay here, but obviously with no gyms being open, there's nowhere to get up and do cardio, which at that point was daily. It was also the video in which we gave you a preview of these fantastic t-shirts, which you've still not seen in full yet, but obviously this time we've got the badge on them and the back print, which we will show you at some point. And then the next bit was going to Dubai, which at the time felt very daunting. I had a lot to sort out in that month leading up to Dubai, but I got there and things just kind of got better and better. And that was when we started pulling back in terms of like fatigue, in terms of output. Food started going up a little more. We started playing around with trial peaks, which obviously we documented on YouTube. And condition got pretty silly at times there. And I think we were kind of like, yeah, like you're ready. Which I think before the self-doubt crept in post Milwaukee, I think we were where we needed to be on reflection. And that's the first time I think I've said that. So yeah, Dubai went ahead. Obviously, Louis was there. That again kind of refreshed things, made things feel good again. We spent 2 weeks there, and then we flew out to America. I remember at that point, my stress probably was at its lowest, and I think that week leading up to the New York Pro was potentially my favourite of the whole prep, because I was feeling like I was looking amazing. I felt like I looked at my best. We were training out of MI40. The guys there were really nice. It felt very welcoming. It was very quiet every time I went in there. So in terms of like environment, it was cool. Me and Louis just getting up, eating, training, living like a pro bodybuilder, I guess. And there's some shots here from the 8th of May. So my first shots from America. I don't know how clearly you can see, but these were probably at the time a very good look for me. Something that I was very happy with. Again, I'm just hitting a load of bodybuilder poses, but that's what I seem to do best. So that was really cool. And then obviously we had New York Pro. Felt really good in the days leading up. I remember body weight kept dropping. I felt super excited about condition. I felt super excited about where we'd gotten to. Show day came, and I was very nervous that morning because I wasn't where I felt I wanted to be. But then we got into the show. Whether I said this overtly or not, the plan was to line up a number of shows in the States and get some half-decent placings, i.e. top 5s, in order to accumulate some points to get to the Olympia. I don't know if I ever thought I could win a show outright in my rookie season, because I'm not Andre Dieu, unfortunately. But I truly believe that I was good enough to get some better placings than I did. The plan was not to come home after this show that I'm about to talk about. It was to stay out there, do a few more, and then come home. But the whole experience, I think, just got on top of me. I think I'll cover that in the next video when I talk about like why I'm back home and the personal update. But essentially, the expectation versus reality of this season didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And the nuts and bolts of it is that I really wasn't enjoying myself. And I had to ask myself quite a few times, if you're not enjoying yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you putting you through something why are you putting yourself through something that you're no longer happy about? Let's review the shows in terms of like technicality. So I'm sat here looking at these photos from my Instagram. These were in peak week of the Miami Pro show, which you've not seen a vlog of, because to be quite honest, I vlogged. Gigi edited it up. He sent me the draft, and I just kind of felt like, what's the point? Which is a pretty sad moment as well. This is a physique that I'm very impressed with. I'm very happy with how I'm looking at this point. Like my back looks the best it has. My front and knee shots I think is unreal, as is my back. Like this is the best that I've looked on in my life. That's the best that I've looked in my life in that picture. And yet stage day comes, the show comes, and I'm actually like a bit embarrassed to even like look at these, which is why there's none on my Instagram, and that's what I said in my little IGTV. But obviously we've got to be transparent. So what happened at Miami Muscle Beach? We tried to load quite hard, and I think by this point a lot of stuff had already occurred. Enjoyment was through the floor, stress was through the roof, body was probably tired. Can't imagine body was very healthy. I completely deserved to place where I did, which was like 15th or 16th, which is obviously just way off where I was hoping to get to. So these fill me with dread, to be fair. Like looking at these, I'm like, it brings back some pretty shitty memories, if I'm honest. Which again, as I said, just feels ridiculous to say, given that I was supposed to be like living my dream out there. We tried to load hard, it didn't go well. The physique ended up looking spilled over, not tight in the midsection, full across the top line. Unfortunately, there's no shots of me in like a good lineup here. I mean, third call-out's about to say I'm probably the biggest up there. I remember driving to this show and thinking, to the show, and thinking I wish it was over. And that says a lot to me. So, I think that's all there is to review on Miami. Miami was a low point for me. And a show day should never be a low point for any competitor. It should be the bit that you enjoy the most, you've worked hard for, and now you're here, and to not enjoy it is like cardinal sin. Show number 2. The second show I did in America, the Milwaukee Pro. In the lead up to this show, the Men's Physique news page reposted me and said that I was going to come top 5. Oh, that hurts to say as well. So there was a lot of, I'd gotten excited for this show. Like I think I began to really start piling some expectations on myself, and I remember saying to Cal in the week leading up to that, we could do something here. And then I just got absolutely beaten down. This was like, I think I said this in my story or in one of my posts. Like the Milwaukee Pro was the one that like knocked me down, and then Miami Beach just like knocked me out. So what we tried to do for Milwaukee was come in tighter, and I think we did that. From looking at these photos, I actually think this is my second favourite look of the 3 shows. We came in tight for sure, very, very tight. Once again, I feel like I'm looking very different in my Instagram pictures than I am in my stage pictures, which always is continuing to baffle me and cow a little bit. Again, we're not sure if it's to do with stress, cortisol. I just for full closure, I don't edit any of my photos, and I actually think I'm pretty crap at taking Instagram photos. They're all taken on my iPhone with a self-timer on the tripod, so I'm not doing anything fancy. But yeah, I'm not looking like I am in those than I am on stage. But I actually look back on these pictures with relative fondness. I think I'm very tight here. I think I'm a lot flatter. So we didn't really load for this show whatsoever, and you can see that like the delts and arms aren't popping. The abs probably look the tightest that they have, but there's no real pop to the physique, though it is slightly leaner. That was the Milwaukee, and in that one we came, I think I did come 15th, and that was, as I said, really disappointing. That was really disappointing because I went into that show thinking I could do well here. Some of the top competitors, some of the top 6 were telling me like, I think you're going to be up there, and then flop. The final show, which is actually the first show. So after talking about Miami, which was definitely the biggest disappointment, Milwaukee, which was a disappointment, I'm going to end on the New York Pro because this was the one that I set out to do. This is the one that I sort of dreamt of, the one I was excited for, and the one that we were, aiming for and had aims for. This show resulted in the top 10. So I think I came 10th in the end. Came 10th in my first pro show, judged by Tyler Mannion, who's like this vice president of the IFBB, which is pretty cool. And I think one of the head judges at the Olympia, which is cool as well. The New York Pro is obviously an infamous show. It's a massive show. It's like one of the coveted ones. I don't know if you followed it, but like Nick Walker competed there. He won it this year. It was like star-studded, which was incredible to be at. And I'm just watching this video which Phoebe took for me, which I'm very grateful for. I think it's one of the only ones that shows off like how I felt I looked in the day. This is when I first came out, and I'm stood here in the lineup next to Rodrigo, who came 8th in the world last year, and is now qualified for the Olympia again. On my other side, I've got Erin Banks, who won this show, and is going to the Olympia. And then to the left of him, I don't know if you recognise this guy, Anton Antipov Maciu on Instagram. And he's like one of the OGs of men's physique. So that was pretty cool. And on reflection, this was by far my best look of the whole season. I think I'm full, my chest looks full, my abs are the tightest they've looked. They don't look weak at all in this, I wouldn't say. And in terms of size, like I'm stood next to these 2 guys who are now 2 Olympians. And granted, I've got the angle on Rodrigo because he stood behind someone, but like size isn't an issue whatsoever. And that made me pretty happy. Condition doesn't seem to be an issue either. Abs look tight as they looked. The only slight downfall I think for me on this show was the tan. So they only offered 2 coats of tan, and I think I need 3 because I'm so white. So that was a bit of a shame, and I think if the tan was better and maybe the glaze was better, there could have been a better placing. But don't get me wrong, I was over the moon with that show. I think my posing was good. I looked like I was enjoying myself. Any weak areas that I've spoken about in terms of like abs and back previously, in this video at least, I think looked pretty strong. And that's probably why I got the placing that I got. That's why I did well at this show. And I'm sitting here now feeling all type of way because like after Miami and Milwaukee, I actually completely like lost faith in, or there's been times where I've completely doubted what I was good at. And if I was even going to be remotely good at this, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, like, yeah, you could be good at it. I wish that Cal could have come. I think that would have been epic. I still think we could have peaked slightly better, but this is definitely my best. And then we just got like a few. Oh man, it feels so weird reviewing this. I'm actually very proud of this. And I asked Will Whitman to get photos of me on that show day because I was hoping it was going to be a good one, and I got some really cool images. So got some pretty good souvenirs from that day. I think I can now undoubtedly say that the New York Pro is my best physique. I'm proud of myself, I guess. That was a good showing. We did a good job. And I'm glad that I've now filmed this because I've now remembered that we actually did a good job. And it wasn't just a waste of time. And that actually, I did what I set out to do. I did take that one chance.